Everybody, I got, my antics. I always come up into some sort of shtick or some adventure, and then I was gonna meet with my internet buddy from Instagram,
What's up, guys?
Ian. He owns a what you guys? It's a
Serpentine.
Serpentine. They do trips all over the world, looking for herps, looking for reptiles and amphibians, and they're proper nerds like me. So this is Ian. This is Michael.
Hey, how's it going?
And they're credentialed.
That's
They
right.
are. They truly are.
Yeah.
And I got to show you this. Their dream room. You're all gonna love this kind of room. It's a room. This is
Yeah.
a room. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
It's what I dreamed of as a child.
Look at these guys. What? So tell us about this, Ian and Michael.
Yeah.
Both.
Well, so we have almost every native legal species of snake, of rattlesnake, that you can keep in Arizona. You can keep any native non-protected with a hunting license. So we went ahead and did it. A lot of these I can't take credit for. Most of them, 99%. They're our roommate who's gone right now, RJ. He did the amazing setups. He's got the snakes. He's bred some of them. This is a male and female couple of speckled rattlesnakes.
Wow. Look at that. And these have reproduced. Is that right?
Yeah, twice now.
And the little babies of these. So these are speckled rattle. And you're gonna tell me about how different speckled are.
Sure.
But
Totally. And this, just so you get an idea of the babies, that's a baby from that mom in the back there. And same with this bigger guy. That's about a 2-year-old baby.
wow. So they bred in captivity.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So that's there. I don't know how many species of rattlesnake are in Arizona.
13.
13. Is that the most species per state?
We have the
Yeah.
highest biodiversity of venomous animals in the country and the most species of rattlesnakes, so we're pretty gifted here. We also have basically 90% of the Gila monsters range, which they are a little bit extent in northern Mexico, but it almost seems like the guy who drew the borders for Arizona wanted all the cool venomous reptiles.
And then yeah, look at Mike.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I
doing-
just got off of work. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
He wears
Yeah.
it when he's not.
Yeah, I do.
He
I
works at a reptile zoo.
Yeah, I do.
Like that's what he probably dreamed about when he was like pooping his
I
diapers.
did. You're absolutely right. And I'm still pooping my diapers. Ian knows that. Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I work at the Phoenix Herpetological Sanctuary, which is the largest reptile sanctuary in the country. We have 1,500 reptiles in our care, and also, as a reptile sanctuary based here in once again Arizona's most, or the United States' most biodiverse state as far as venomous reptiles. It's really a pleasure since we get to go looking for these animals in the wild, and then we kind of draw the connections between them in the wild and then also in captivity, which that's also why like RJ has this collection. We're all
This is yeah, just a total hobby.
yeah.
And a passion.
Fun.
And
all about
and the other thing is, I think, it should be said that all of us are experts. We're all professionals. We all have worked with venomous snakes in a professional setting. This is not at all something we condone for just anyone to go and do, especially if you don't have any experience with animals. And the other thing is, keeping these animals, you need to take it upon yourself to bear the responsibility of understanding the law, because there are legal stipulations that go into owning a venomous animal. And I mean, that aside, it's also not necessarily the safest thing to do. Like, you should, here.
Well, you have non-venomous and venomous.
Yeah, non-venomous and venomous. There are a lot of venomous snakes here, though, and I should.
And you don't care that it's not like you love them more because they're venomous and they're non-venomous. Each one is amazing and special and
Certainly.
so unique.
I will say though that venomous snakes really do fascinate us.
For you?
and
Really?
yeah, and I think for herpers in general, Arizona and Phoenix are kind of viewed as a herping mecca. I think it's really funny.
It's a world class.
Oh yeah, people come here from
It's like
around the
Australia,
world. Yeah.
honestly, for people that don't live here.
And when you think about the rattlesnake genus Crotalus, like once again, it has the highest biodiversity here in the American Southwest. And when you think about it, it's like an anomaly amongst all animals. This is a whole group of reptiles that has somehow evolved like a percussive keratin rattle at the end of its ass.
It's very, very
pretty cool.
They're the most highly evolved snake in the world, the rattlesnake pit viper.
Yeah.
And
because of
that-
their gland, their envenomation, their morphology, their heat-seeking pits, their specialized scales
Yeah.
that are actually have evolved to become rattles. They're freaking sweet. And did you guys know also that Arizona has the highest biodiversity of wild edible plants in the entire
Whoa.
out of all the states?
I
Yes.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'll have
Man.
to- if you see any tonight,
Yeah.
Can.
We, I think actually, didn't you start talking to Ian right around the time that you were interviewing with Naked and Afraid?
I don't think I knew you back then.
Oh,
I know.
really?
No.
Okay, well, I remember.
We have lots to learn about each
Yeah.
other. We're going to be doing some bonding because we're looking for these in situ in the wild. We're going on a night hike with flashlights and just seeing what we can
Oh,
find.
yeah, and you know.
And you don't know what you're going to find.
Never know.
And what's really cool is, I mean, obviously there's no guarantees, but the spot where we're going specifically is where we not only target western diamondback rattlesnakes, which is the most commonly occurred
And the largest.
species of rattlesnake, that's right, and largest here in Arizona, but additionally, we're going to be looking for our state's only native species of elapid, so the Sonoran
related
coral
to
snake.
cobras.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
talking about
yeah, yeah,
cobra
yeah,
venom.
yeah.
And the really cool thing is that the Sonoran coral snake is very distinct amongst coral snake species extent within the United States, and they bear a much closer similarities phylogenetically and with their toxology to Mexican variable coral snakes. So, I think it's very
Nerd alert,
interesting.
like I said.
I know. Yeah, the last time a fatal envenomation occurred from a coral snake was documented somewhere in the early 20th century. So it's funny enough, a lot
That
of
was the
people.
only one.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because people ask us this all the time. And what happens if I get bitten by a coral snake? And I think it's kind of interesting because once again, they just are not prone to biting, and even in the instances where people have been bitten, they've been able to be treated. I think from what I understand, there have been instances where Sonoran coral snake bites are treated with antivenom made for variable coral snakes because they don't even make Sonoran coral snake antivenom
really need
anymore.
them.
Yeah, you don't even need it anymore because those bites, in the event that it's serious enough that someone needs antivenom, which is not very common at all, they could just get airlifted from Mexico.
Wow. Wow.
And some, I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but that's from what I understand. That's the understanding.
So that is
yeah.
the only elapid is the Sonoran,
Coral
the
snake, yeah.
Sonoran coral snake, the only
Here in
elapid.
Arizona,
That's cool. But then you cross the border down into Central Mexico, you've got about 2 or 3 species.
Yes, and Ian
Yeah.
knows all about pseudo coral snakes, coral snakes.
We're
He's
going
a
in
real
there.
expert.
We've
Yeah.
just begun. And look at these awesome habitats. They make them They make them beautiful
Oh,
and
yeah.
natural.
RJ is
So
a-
each
a
one
stud at
is
that.
also based with small little unique characteristics on where they came from, such as down here. if you
Okay,
look.
tell us about this one because this one is phenomenal. Oh man,
So this
It-
is an
it-
incredible snake.
there
It's-
it is.
That's the white speckled rattlesnake.
Oh, so cool, right?
And it doesn't even have its own species. It's not really called the white speckled rattlesnake. It's just the southwestern speckled rattlesnake, but this was the white variation. But what's really cool about the cage is if you look, the sand comes from exactly where this color is found. And you can even see these little bullets. The
Yeah.
snake, this white color is known from a missile range where they test, the military owns the whole place, and they do munitions testing there. So whenever we go look for them, we find like unexploded ordnance
Yeah.
all over. We find bombs. we
Seriously,
find- we
are they
find
that
tanks.
white, like that snowflakey?
Oh,
Really, all of them in that area? So the
Mostly.
crazy thing is the thing to wrap your. Ooh, I don't want to get too
And if I'm
excited
not mistaken, that's
'Cause-
also.
because they do wrap their tail like that one.
Oh yeah.
So those are the specialized.
Always its heads there by you.
Those are the specialized scales, which rattle against one another. There's its beautiful head. This one,
Do we have any rattlesterians?
this is great. Which species is this one now?
That's a prairie rattlesnake.
That's a prairie
This
rattlesnake.
is the most widespread rattlesnake in the entire world.
Crotalus, what is it? Oh,
Crotalus viridis.
viridis. Yeah, we have those in Washington State.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they come just up to there.
But what's crazy, so this, what Ian was saying was that this is a speckled rattlesnake. This is a speckled rattlesnake. They're just different color morphs because these snakes, they don't change color like a gecko, but over generations, you can imagine the ones that match their environment the most, those are the babies that are going to survive, and then that genetic will get passed on to future generations. So over maybe thousands of years, maybe less, maybe hundreds of years, maybe even less, depending on how much they reproduce. But like these speckled rattlesnakes are found in more red areas, reddish rock. I'm sure you could probably get into some seriously red rock where the coloration is even more rosy red pink.
Yeah.
Totally.
This one has white sand, so it has a white snake. And I would not be surprised if there was a place where there's black sand and the speckled rattlesnake is actually very black. So
I'll say
yeah,
out in
you tell.
California, their range. Well, this is me speculating. Actually, some of the best people to ask about this are a few friends that we know who they're all citizen scientists, and that's the really cool thing about herping in general is you don't have to have a degree to go out and see these animals in the wild and actually make
discoveries.
Yeah, make discoveries that have sizable scientific impact. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why we love herping and we love encouraging other people to herp and try it out. But yeah, we know a couple herpers based here in Arizona that basically over time documented rattlesnakes from different parts of their range, all the way from here in Arizona throughout California, Southern California, down into Mexico, like the Baja. And I would say in Arizona, if this is just me speculating, no pun intended, speckled rattlesnake, is that Arizona, the color morphologies are very standardized to specific parts of the state. For instance, and without giving away any specific locations where these animals are, go find them for yourself.
Yeah, well, it's like your secret mushroom spot.
Well, yeah, and it's, of course, yes. Within Phoenix, there's maybe 2 or 3 mountain ranges where you can find blue speckled rattlesnakes. All of them are protected state parks, though, so you can't collect from there. In northern Arizona, I mean, we're talking like a 30-minute drive from where you can find a blue speckled rattlesnake in Arizona. You can find a pink speckled rattlesnake,
or more pink than that. Just
about that pink, or you can find one that's brown. You could find one that's Cheeto dust orange. So throughout northern Phoenix, there's a lot of brick red, like literally like terracotta brick red to like peach colored, orange. There's a lot of variance within that red coloration within Phoenix. Once again, once you go down to southern Arizona, there are a couple mountain ranges where you find those really like standardized white ones, but even within those mountain ranges, like we've gone to some where like they look like orange dreamsicles, so they're white, but they have like that orange undertone, and it's specific to that mountain range, right? But it seems more standardized. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, white specks are down in the south. There's these mountains that have blue specks. The rest are all kind of reddish. All right, and you play around with that. Oh yes.
You just yawned.
But then what I've seen, and this is once again like we've gone out and seen a couple specks, maybe 2. I've seen 2 or 3 in California, but as far as the photos I've seen taken of specks, it looks like Southern California. It's literally like they roll the dice with every snake. Like every snake, it could be like the contrasted dark areas could be super purpley blue, but then it's also an orange snake. Like, what do you think, Ian? There's some that are like white.
But you also get the standardization. There's some spots in like at least where speckled rattlesnakes range in Southern California, like a lava flow.
Yes.
Where there's lava tubes and they're all black.
Yes.
See, this is what I'm saying is that they don't purposely change their color.
Definitely
they
not.
do it because it's over generations. Survival of the fittest. The fittest rattlesnakes that are going to survive them in a black lava tube. A little white snowflake one is going to stick out like a sore thumb. It's going to get picked off by a hawk or a predator. A black one's going to move in. This one's moving in for its girlfriend. Yeah, they're just so amazing. I could really go into like just talking about the morphology and the anatomy of these beautiful snakes, beautiful things. But Michael was talking about citizen science, which is something that I'd like to talk more about, is now with social media. And it's not really been like that. So many people get the credentials out there in the world because they have the academic credentials, but that doesn't mean that there are, like, right now, like, there are mushroom experts that know more about mushrooms than anybody in academia because they're so incredibly passionate. You can't stop somebody's passion from learning. And the same thing with herping, which are like, this is the name, herpetologists, or people that study reptiles, amphibians. But there are citizens, not academically trained, but they train themselves, they learn, they read the books, they're out there in the field, they're not bothered by a job that they have to go to. Instead, they're out there with snakes, learning about snakes, traveling with snakes, and they offer so much information. And that information can be, in an ideal situation, can be conveyed to people that are dedicating their lives to literature. But it's like with me, what got me into all these snakes, I mean, it was innate, but also tropical fish, and it got me traveling the world. With these guys, it was probably snakes and other creepy crawlies, got them traveling the world to do what they do. And you start something like this, and it's a hobby, a passion, then it's a lifestyle, and it's like a segue, or it's like a pathway into
the rest of the world.
Into why we do these things. And then look at how much these guys are learning, they're exploring, they have their besties. It's like such an amazing thing. And then once you start caring about these things and you develop a community of people that care about this sort of stuff, all you do is care about the world. And right now we're in Arizona, where it's freaking insanely populated.
Yes.
It's all this habitat right here is turning into parking lots and Wally Worlds and freaking strip malls, and there's no more habitat. We're finding little islands that are left where there's these naturally existing miracles, and these guys are talking about the different species. How many species of rattlesnakes? 13 species of rattlesnakes, but there's countless color morphs and shapes and sizes that we're learning more about, and that it's like a giant Easter egg hunt, because you're not just looking for one kind of rattlesnake, you're looking for a specific color morph that's really rare. And now with social media, which is how I met these guys, like these guys are phenomenal. They're also passionate about photography, so they turn their photography into looking at snakes into an art form, which is like, harkens to another huge part of who I am. I am in freaking awesome company. Maybe some parting words, because we're going to go outside.
Yeah. No, hey, we're really stoked to go out and look for some animals. Actually, it's funny. We haven't been able to get to herping that much this season. So it's a prime time right now.
States.
Yeah, exactly.
They just got back from...
He just got back from Suriname.
Suriname. And your photos are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And your posse of people that you got to come with you are like... That I was invited to it and I didn't go, and might be married by now.
We have some really cool trips coming up, so you got to check them out.
They're going to China.
Yes.
And nobody knows anything about the herps in China. Like, they are going to be at the forefront of citizen science, going in there and seeing it. It is not impossible. It's not an impossibility to find new species in these places where these guys are going.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is that, especially like for this trip to China, we're going to be targeting species that are really perceived as being small-scale endemic viper species, because in China there's such a huge biodiversity of like cryptic viper species that
very low density too.
Yes,
like there's not many in the mountain. So
but it's interesting though, because they oh yes, absolutely, like within the mountains they're known to occur in, but like for some of the species, like for example like the Fisi-Pan horn viper, they are documented in Mount Mang, which is going to be one of the spots we go to. It's very much the titular location of this trip, because that's where we're going to be targeting the famous Mengshen viper, or in traditional Chinese Mangshan viper. And but also
it keeps the Chinese out of their own forests. Actually, they're terrified of these snakes.
Well, yeah, I mean the thing is, these species are protected, and so for us, we're going to be operating within the parameters of good taste and the law to sustainably observe.
I mean, your agenda is first and foremost to see it in situ, in real life, and then take photos of it and make art out of it.
And for us, for the Mangshan viper, I anticipate that will be documenting that will be fully in situ.
There's only an estimated 600 in the world.
Yes,
and in the wild.
Yeah.
So talk about an Easter egg hunt.
Yes, and that snake looks like it's wearing military BDUs. It was designed by nature to be exactly the same camouflage pattern that like the U.S. military uses.
Maybe I will. I'll try to get. I get excited, and then the rattlesnakes get excited. But I'll show you just a picture of some of these. But do just a quick rundown of your different guys that are in your collection right now. And a lot of these snakes might be here for just a small amount of time. Some of them, I'm sure, will go back to the wild when they feel like it's time to switch the rotation of collections. But we were talking about the only elapid that was that's in Arizona. So that's like basically the snakes that are in the the like cobras and black mambas.
Taipan.
Yeah, which is rad. But there's only one in Florida. Another interesting thing about rattlesnakes is it's in North America where you have all the diversity of rattlesnakes. But they're restricted to the Americas. You get Central America, Mexico, United States, you've got diversity of rattlesnakes. You get down into South America, you only have one species of rattlesnake.
There's South American and the Uruguayan.
Yeah, it's debatable. There's actually a couple now. They're always splitting.
So they're finding
that's
out,
the thing.
again,
Yeah, always
citizen
splitting.
science people are finding more, but essentially how it's been
Very
understood is
few
there's
rattlesnakes
only
in South
one.
America,
And
yeah.
then what's crazy is they're found nowhere else in the world, in the wild.
Yeah.
But we're talking about lapids. Show us the snake. Show them the snake that tries to look like this very deadly poisonous coral snake.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool.
It tries to look like.
It's so rad.
Look at
Pyro.
that.
Yeah.
So, you're you wouldn't be mistaken, or you wouldn't be at fault if you thought this was a coral snake.
Isn't that just a beauty?
It looks just like one, and I'm not gonna say the rhyme because it's not always accurate. So the best way to learn if you're looking at a coral snake or not, it's kind of it's a lot of work, but the best way is to learn your species of snake. There is no rhyme that will always work every time, not even in the U.S. You might get an albino coral
I mean,
snake.
I will tell you, when I'm in Asia, South America, there are a lot of questionable snakes that are like, I don't know what's going on. But look at that. So that, again, that snake didn't choose those colors just through processes of evolution, survival of the fittest. There was a snake, the one that would look like most like a very deadly poisonous coral snake. Those are the hatchlings that survived, carried on the genetics. And such a beautiful, beautiful king snake.
Yeah, and it's actually it's a constrictor.
Sorry,
So instead of venom, this dude is going to use very strong muscles, and he'll just wrap around lizards.
Just
and,
like a boa
small
constrictor.
And I was sorry, I just noticed as well. Like another part of why part of why Ian's point on why rhymes don't work. And I mean, this is not the best example, but for instance, there are parts of this animal's body where red and yellow are touching, red and black are touching. So, it isn't necessarily. This goes for coral snakes as well. There are aberrancies.
You might get a striped coral snake. You might get
It's crazy.
You get anything.
You don't know.
And then this is our closest relative. Talk about constrictors. This is our closest relative to a
boa.
to a boa constrictor. It's one. So this one is a color. Talk about color morphs. This is the same species, black and white. Considered common name would be the Mexican rosy boa. And then this is a rosy boa here, and you can see it's got a different color yet.
Yep, and so that's a desert rosy boa.
Desert rosy boa. They're the same species. They can make beautiful babies together, but the babies might have red stripes, might have brown stripes, might have black and white stripes. It kind of depends. There's a diversity. It's just like if you have kids and you got a blonde wife and a brunette husband, you don't know what's going to come out. But same way with snakes, and but then pretty soon the genetics gets stronger and stronger. So just Ian and Michael know these snakes. Like they could just know that snake wherever it is, and maybe if it's in captivity or if it's in a picture on Instagram or something, they would know exactly pretty much the range of where that particular rosy boa is native to, and same with that. So they've got just really cool. I don't know if I could go through and tell you.
Yeah, so that one's a Mojave
That's
crawling.
a
but down in
Mojave.
on the right there is a Sidewinder.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's an orange Sidewinder.
So I told Ian that that if he doesn't find me a Sidewinder in real life, which I have not found in real life, that Ian is dead to me.
Yeah. So the pressure's on.
Is that what we're going for
I
today?
might as well be dead to you.
Yeah, again, Sidewinders, they're very restricted ranges. They're very specialized in their habitat, generally really sandy locations. Talking about unique adaptations, they're unique amongst the rattlesnakes because they have a particular kind of movement that not very many snakes have, and it's just so they can rotate at relatively high speeds with little amounts of energy over sand. Whereas all these other rattlesnakes cannot move like a Sidewinder. So but they're very, very cool because they live, again, more specialized in sandy environments. And if you see, it has those horns, which is quite typical of a lot of snakes that live in sand. There's a speculation that as these snakes can burrow into the sand, they can get camouflaged. Again, they don't want to get picked off by a predator. But they can stay hidden away from predators. They can also stay hidden so they can hunt and wait and seek out their prey that might pass in front of them, which could be a bird, a lizard, or a small rodent. But they think that those horns above the head might be a possible way that as sand is blowing across and covering up the body of the snake, those little horns might just actually act like a little vortex and keep sand from clogging up their eyes, so they don't have arms to undo their thing. So there's a possibility that it acts like a vortex, so it keeps their eyes areas free of sand.
That's cool.
Yes, rad stuff.
Yeah.
It's just okay, enough. Yeah, it's too much. I mean, we're probably going to be drinking some beers later tonight, and then it'll get deep into rattlesnake facts.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Dude, so excited. The best thing about keeping these snakes every time is that it just gets me stoked to get out there. So now I'm super excited to go find them.
Rad.
Every time I come in.
Rad. And then we find more snakes, and then there's reason to protect these areas. We're they'll be at the forefront, chained to a tree, going, "No! This is where the white speckle, you guys don't even know." And then they start showing the other citizens, and they're like, "Whoa, actually they're really rad." And
It's a protected area.
these are things, a lot of things. My dad hated it that I love snakes, but he spent all of August. He would take all of August off, actually, and I would open up my Audubon Society Field Guide of Reptiles and Amphibians of North America, and I just opened up the book and I'd say, "I want to find this, like a rosy boa." And he'd spend all month with me. He'd just travel down and I'd look for rattlesnakes and all the different things and be on a hunt for maybe a rosy boa. But he facilitated that passion for me with me. And then look at where this passion got me. So this is, even though you might be terrified of rattlesnakes as a parent, but this is something that you could learn about rattlesnakes, and actually the more you know about them, the more you understand them, and you'll be like, actually, yeah, they have their own dangers. They're capable of protecting themselves, but it's also, the more you know about them, there isn't a fear that you should have of them if you're aware of them. And this is something that you could introduce your friends, your family to really excite their knowledge about the natural world. So, end point. Okay, let's go outside.
Let's
Go
do
find
it.
some snakes.
Boom.
Go find them.